Hello students, welcome to class 12 physics class. Today we discuss force on a moving charge in a magnetic field. In last class we discussed the toroidal solenoid, the magnetic field expression. Today we discuss the force on a moving charge in a magnetic field. So the electric charges moving in a magnetic field experiences a force, while there is no such force on static charges. We know this one. In the first chapter we studied the electric charges moving in a magnetic field. Or we know that if electric charge moving on an electric field also, they will experience a force. So if the electric charges moving in a magnetic field, they also experience a force. While there is no such force on static charges. This one first recognized by Hendrik Anton Lorentz, a great Dutch physicist many years ago. Okay, actually we know that if any charge is placed anywhere, due to that charges one electric field is created. And if we bring a unit positive charge inside that electric field, it will experience a force. But here no static charges are there, only magnetic field is there. That means magnet is present, that's why the magnetic field is there. And if we move or if we bring a charge inside that magnetic field, it will also experience a force, but there is no static charges, that one. Okay, so that force is discovered by scientist Lorentz, that's why this is called Lorentz force. And what is its expression? Let's take see this one. Here we consider, if you see this diagram, then you can understand. In this diagram you see that a positive charge Q moves with velocity v. Its velocity is moved with velocity v inside a magnetic field B. We know that the magnetic field is represented by B and it is a vector quantity. And v vector, that the velocity vector, makes an angle with that magnetic field, that will be theta. And as per this definition or the from this experiment, the force or the it is found that from that experiment that the charge Q moving in a magnetic field experiences a force, and that force depends upon some factor. First factor, that force is proportional to the magnitude of the magnetic field. That means if we increase the strength of the magnetic field, then this force also increases. Second number, the force is proportional to the charge Q. The force is proportional to the charge Q. If the magnitude of charge is more, then the force acting on it also more. Third number, the force is proportional to the component of the velocity v in the perpendicular direction of the magnetic field B. That means v sine theta. Here you see that the v makes an angle with theta, makes an angle theta with the magnetic field B. So it's perpendicular. If we resolve it into components, so along B it will be v cos theta, and perpendicular it is v sine theta, as shown in this figure. So the force also depends on this perpendicular component of the velocity vector. So v proportional to v sine theta. Now if we combine these three equations, v proportional to b, a proportional to b, a proportional to q, and a proportional to v sine theta, then we get f proportional to bqv sine theta. Now as we know that if we use two equal sign, then we have to multiply it with a constant term k, and so we can write f equals to k q v v sine theta. And the unit of magnetic field is so defined that the proportionality constant k becomes unity from the above equation. And like that way we can use the unit of magnetic field and the others unit also, that the value of k will be 1. So we can write that equation Vf equals to bqv sin theta. Now in this equation you see that V and B are the vector quantities, not the Q. So if we write in a vector form, the Lorentz force, magnetic Lorentz force, this is called magnetic Lorentz force. Okay, so we can write F in vector form, F vector that is equals to Q V cross B, because B Q V sin theta. So B V V sin theta, that means when we use the sin theta, when the product of two vector quantity, that is also be a vector. F is a vector quantity, force is a vector quantity. So in vector form we can write Q into V cross B. And from this we can say that the direction of the vector of F, V and B we get from that expression, from that F equals to Q into V cross B. Okay, so if you consider this figure, here you see that the direction of F is perpendicular to the plane xy. The direction of F is perpendicular to the plane xy plane. XY plane, that means the vectors V and B lies in the XY plane. So this F is perpendicular to that plane, that is XY. So we can say that the direction of F is the nothing but the direction of V cross B. Whatever the direction of V cross B, that is the direction of V towards the positive Z axis. Okay. Now here also we get some special cases in that scalar expression F equals to bqv sin theta. First expression, if V equals to 0, if velocity equals to 0, then F equals to 0. That means the charge is a stationary charge particle, does not experience any force in the magnetic field. That means the charge will not move inside the magnetic field. If it will move, then only it will experience a force, otherwise not. If it is a stationary charge particle, then it does not experience any force. Second case, if theta equals to 0 degree or 180 degree, then also F equals to 0, because sin 0 0, sin 180 degree 0. So if the charge particle moving parallel or anti-parallel, 0 degree means towards the magnetic field and 180 means opposite to the magnetic field. So parallel or anti-parallel to a magnetic field does not experience any force in a magnetic field. And third number, if theta equals to 90 degree, the angle between B and V, if it will be 90 degree, so we get F equals to BQV, which is a maximum force when it will a maximum force acting on that charge particle when it moves perpendicular to the magnetic field. So the both two above two cases, case 1 and case 2, if velocity is 0, then also F equals to 0. If theta equals to 0 or 180 degree parallel or anti-parallel, then also F equals to 0. So when we get the maximum force acting on the charge particle when the charge particle move inside the magnetic field perpendicularly. That means the V vector makes an angle with magnetic field vector B, that will be 90 degree. Then only we can get the maximum force. Clear? Okay. Now this there is some rules to find out the direction of force on a charged particle moving perpendicular to a magnetic field. Okay. First I will discuss that rules, then I will discuss this definition of magnetic field. So as we know that we studied this also class 10, Fleming's left hand rule. If we know that this rule, so using that rule, Fleming's left hand rule, we can determine the direction of force on a charged particle moving perpendicular to a magnetic field. What is that rule? I will just once revise. I tell that rule also. If we stretch the thumb the forefinger and the middle finger of our left hand mutually perpendicular to each other, then if forefinger points the direction of magnetic field, this also be is there. Wait, this one. Then if the forefinger points direction of magnetic field, so middle finger represent the direction of current, then the thumb will gives us the direction of force on the charged particle. Clear? Fleming's left hand rule gives us the direction of force which is acted on a charged particle which is moving inside a magnetic field. So if we stretch our hand, left hand, three fingers, that is thumb, forefinger and the middle finger mutually perpendicular to each other, then if forefinger represent the magnetic field, so middle finger represent or the center finger represent the current, then the thumb will gives us a direction of force on the charged particle. Using this law we can also find out the direction of force. Another one law is there, that is right hand rule, palm rule. Open the right hand and place it so that the tips of the fingers point the direction of magnetic field, and thumb in the direction of velocity of the positive charge, then the palm faces towards the force. You also know that rule also, right hand thumb rule. If you don't know, then you tell me, I will give that notes also. Okay. So now we discuss the definition of magnetic field. So we get that equation F equals to BQV sin theta. So from that equation we can write B equals to F by QV sin theta. Now if we consider the unit charge, that means Q equals to 1, V equals to 1, theta equals to 90 degree. So sin 90 value is 1 because we need every quantity as a unit value. So when the sine value is 1, then it will be 90 degree. That's why we take theta equals to 90 degree. So we get B equals to F. So from that equation we can say that the magnetic field at a point may be defined as a force acting on a unit charge moving with a unit velocity at right angle to the direction of the field. That is a third case, the special third number. When theta equals to 0 degree, we get the maximum force on a charged particle. So using that condition we get, and also we consider the Q equals to 1, V equals to 1. So we can say that if the force acting on a unit charge moving with a unit velocity at right angles, then the right angles to the direction of the field, that will be the definition of magnetic field. And from that we can also find out the SI unit of magnetic field, B equals to F by Q into V sin theta. So if F equals to 1 Newton, we put the values, nothing but the values, unit of that factors. F equals to Newton, Q is Coulomb, V is meter per second, theta equals to 90 degree, sin 90 value is 1. So we can write SI unit of B magnetic field, that is 1 Newton per ampere per meter. Newton per ampere per meter. So that is, in one word, it is called Tesla. So the SI unit of magnetic field is Tesla. It is represented by capital T. And from where we get the ampere, that is Coulomb per second, that is called Q equals to Q by T. So Q value is Coulomb and T is second. So the SI unit of I is ampere. So see, Coulomb per meter second inverse, that is called ampere. That's why we can write 1 ampere into 1 meter. So 1 Tesla, that is equals to 1 Newton per ampere per meter inverse. That's per meter. Sorry. So how we can also define 1 Tesla. So 1 Tesla is a magnetic field in which the charge of 1 coulomb moving with a velocity of 1 meter per second at right angles to the field experience a force of 1 Newton. everything. If you forgot this expression, if you remember that forgot this definition, if you remember that expression, and if you put the value, all values can be unit value 1, then you can easily define this 1 Tesla. Clear? So and a field of 1 Tesla is very strong magnetic field. Very often the magnetic field are expressed in terms of a smaller unit. If very small magnetic field is there, which is called Gauss. Okay, and 1 Gauss equals to 10 to the power minus 4 Tesla. 1 Gauss equals to 10 to the power minus 4 Tesla. And if we want to find out the dimension of the magnetic field, same equation we can use, B equals to F by QV sin theta, and we know the dimension of F, dimension of Q, dimension of V, and sin theta, it will be the angle, so it will 1. So the dimension of magnetic field, that is m t to the power minus 2, that means time t to the power minus 2 ampere to the power minus 1. A is represent current. Okay. So the dimension of magnetic field is m t to the power minus 2 a to the power minus 1. So we discussed the Lorentz magnetic force, not the Lorentz force. Okay, because there is a, when the electric current flows through the conductor, there electric field also be present. So that, and in first chapter we also studied the a charge moving in an electric field, it also be experience one force. So that is called Lorentz electrostatic force, and this is called Lorentz magnetic force, that F equals to BQB sin theta. So now what is Lorentz force? Lorentz force is a total force is experienced. We already, I will say that in one video, that the electric field and magnetic field both are exist in a pair, not in a single. If electric field is there, then magnetic field also be there. So if a charge move in that electric field, it also move in a magnetic field also. So total force that is due to the electric field as well as the magnetic field also, that is called Lorentz force. That is defined here. The total force experienced by a charged particle moving in a region where both electric and magnetic fields are present is called Lorentz force. So we can say that the Lorentz force is nothing but the sum of electrostatic force and the magnetic force. Electric force and the magnetic force. So mathematically we can know that, if a charge move in an electric field, it will experience a force that is called electric force, F equals to Q into E. We know this. Now if the from that magnetic force expression we get the vector form, and so if electric force is denoted by Fe and the magnetic force is denoted by Fm, that is equals to Q into V cross B, vector form. So these forces are, because magnetic field and electric field always perpendicular to each other, so we can say that these two forces also perpendicular to the plane of vector B and velocity vector and the magnetic field vector, and depends on the velocity of the charge. So the total force, or we can say that Lorentz force, total force or the Lorentz force, that is equals to Lorentz electric force plus Lorentz magnetic force, Fe plus Fm. And if we put this expression over there, we get Q E plus V cross B, because Fe equals to, we get Q into E, and Fm equals to Q into V cross B, so we take Q as a common, so Q E plus V cross B. This is a very important. And if you you just when you solve the problem, just you carefully read it over there, that magnetic force is given or the electric force is given. So Lorentz force is the total force of the electric and the magnetic field. But if Lorentz magnetic force, that is only the Fm equals to BQ into V cross B, that is called Lorentz magnetic force. Or if we find out the expression, the charge moving in a magnetic field, that is also be a Lorentz magnetic force, not the Lorentz force. Lorentz force is a total force. Clear? Okay. So if you take one example, and it is sometimes it will also come one board exam. A long straight wire AB carries a current 4 ampere. A proton P travels at some speed is given 4 into 10 to the power 6 meter per second parallel to the wire 0.2 meter from it and in a direction opposite to the current as shown in the figure. Calculate the force which the magnetic field of current exert on the proton. Calculate the force which the magnetic field of current exert on the proton. Also specify the direction of the force. Okay. So if we find out, you see this diagram carefully first, then I will tell you. So this is a long straight wire. So for a long straight wire, what will be the expression of magnetic field? We know that B equals to mu 0 I by 2 pi r. If we put the values over there, the I value is given and 2 pi r value 0.2 meter is given. So we get magnetic field value 4 into 10 to the power minus 6 Tesla. And if we find out, what we find out? We find out the force. The field acts on a proton normally into the plane of the paper. According to the Fleming's right hand rule, the magnetic force acts on a proton towards right in the plane of the paper. You also apply the Fleming's right hand rule and you can also understand this line and the direction of the force. So the magnitude of the force F equals to BQV sin theta. Theta equals to 90 because it is moved parallelly, normally. So and we get the values q is a proton is same as a electron just with a positive sign 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. V is 4 into 10 to the power 6, it is given. B value already we find out and sin 90 value 1, so we get 2.56 into 10 to the power minus 18 Newton. This is, so here it is not mentioned over there that you find out the Lorentz magnetic force. It is mentioned that calculate the force which the magnetic field also of a current exert on the proton. So due to the magnetic field you find out the force. So now that means you find out the Lorentz magnetic force. That's why we use that expression F equals to BQV sin theta. BQV sin theta. If you that the field acts on a proton normally into the paper, you can use the right hand thumb rule. You can see that if you point your right hand thumb towards the current direction and the other 4 fingers will be moved into the paper normally. So the magnetic field direction is normally into the plane of the paper, and the force you can use a Fleming's right hand rule or right hand plumb rule. Left hand rule. It's Fleming's left hand rule. If you stretch that 3 fingers, you can understand in which direction the force will act exerted, and that is towards right in the plane of the paper. Towards right in the plane of the paper. Clear? Okay. So this is a very short form. I will represent here the Lorentz magnetic force and it's how we can determine. Next, the motion of a charged particle in a uniform magnetic field. Motion of a charged particle in a uniform magnetic field. So we know that when a charged particle moves in a magnetic field with some velocity, it will experience a force that is F equals to Q into V cross B. Okay, and if the direction or if we can say that if the force is perpendicular to both B and B, then we can the magnitude of the force we can write F equals to BQV sin theta. The direction of this force is perpendicular to both V and B. That is V cross B, it will be perpendicular of V cross B. So this is a scalar form, or magnitude means we remove the all vector sign. So F equals to BQV sin theta. Now here we consider when the motion of a charged particle in a uniform magnetic field, here we consider three cases, three possible cases. First case, here you see that first case, if theta equals to 0, when the initial velocity is parallel to the magnetic field. If the initial velocity, that means v, is parallel to the magnetic field, no angle between them, theta equals to 0 degree. So f equals to 0. Already we discussed in the special cases. Thus, if the initial velocity is parallel to the magnetic field, then the no force is exerted on a moving charged particle. Clear? So the charged particle will continue to move along the line of force. Second case, when the initial velocity is perpendicular to the magnetic field. Initial velocity is perpendicular to the magnetic field. If you see this figure, the cross sign means into the paper, magnetic field is into the paper normally. With this B, with this magnetic field, the velocity vector also be perpendicular. The velocity vector of also the perpendicular of this magnetic field. That means the angle between B and V, that is 90 degree. So we get a maximum force, F equals to BQV, that is a maximum force. So as the magnetic force acts perpendicular as to its velocity, it does not do any work. Why? You see that if it will be a maximum force, it does not change its kinetic energy or the speed of the particle. Here the magnetic field is directed normally into the paper. Okay, it is represented by cross sign. A charge Q is projected with some speed V in the plane of the paper. The velocity is perpendicular to the magnetic field. So the maximum force acts on it, that is F equals to BQV, sin 90 degree is 1. It is also acts at the perpendicular to the both V and B. And due to this force continuously deflects the particle sideways without changing its speed. That means the particle move in a circular path. Particle will move in a circular path, because in a circular path the radius will be same. So the force exerted on a particle in each and every point will be perpendicular to the field. Thus the magnetic field force provided the centripetal force. This is nothing but the centripetal force, and we know that centripetal force expression, that is a mv squared by r. When this centripetal force is equal to the magnetic force BQV, the charge will move in a circular path. It will not deflect it from its path. That means its speed is constant, or the velocity is constant. Due to this force does not changing its speed, and the particle will move along the circular path. The magnetic force provided the centripetal force, or we can say that this magnetic force is balanced by the centripetal force. So we can mathematically write mv squared by r, that is equals to magnetic force BQV. So from here we can find out the radius of the circular path r, that is equals to mv by qv. This is a very, very important expression. Sometimes it will also come as numerical. Okay, r equals to mv by q into b. Thus the radius of the circular orbit is inversely proportional to the specific charge and to the magnetic field. So if we find out the period of revolution, the time period, so that is the radius of the circular orbit is inversely proportional to the charge q and to the magnetic field also. Now if we find out the time period for one revolution, so that means it will cover one revolution means it is the circumference of the circular path, circumference by the speed. Time equals to circumference by speed. Circumference is 2 pi r, by speed is v. So if we put the value of r over there, mv by qb, that is equals to, we can write 2 pi m by qb. 2 pi m by q into b. This is the expression for time period of one revolution. Now it is clear that the time period is independent of velocity v and r. Because in this expression you see that no v and no r term is there. Only 2 pi m by qb. So the period of revolution is depends upon the mass, the magnetic field strength, and the charge. So if the particle moves faster, the radius is larger. It has to move along the larger circle so that the time taken is the same. And if we find out the frequency of the revolution, fc, that is equals to, we know that f equals to 1 by t, so we get dq by 2 pi m. This frequency is called cyclotron frequency. Because in this year cyclotron is not there in your syllabus. You have to remember this is a maximum frequency. Okay. And cyclotron is a device where we use this expression of this frequency, where we get because the magnetic field, due to that magnetic field is perpendicular, velocity vector also be perpendicular, and the charge particle with move with a circular path without changing its the speed or the velocity. This one due to this, whatever the frequency we get, this is a maximum frequency. Frequency is bq by m. This frequency is called cyclotron frequency. And third case is with when the initial velocity makes an arbitrary angle with a field direction. It is not a perpendicular, not 0 degree, not anti-parallel, nothing, any angle. If the magnetic v makes any angle, so with the magnetic field, so when the, if you see the diagram, so if v is any angle, make any angle that is theta, so we can resolve v into components. One is a perpendicular component, one is a parallel component. So parallel component, horizontal component, okay, or the parallel component, because with respect to b we can say that this one. So the parallel component, that is towards the direction of the magnetic field, and the perpendicular component is perpendicular to the magnetic field. So we can write first, here you see that it is mentioned over there, the component v parallel along the direction of the field, that is along the z axis. That means v parallel equals to v cos theta. We know that the base angle is theta, then that component is cos theta. The parallel component remains unaffected by the magnetic field because it will be perpendicular. So if the perpendicular, then the charge will move in a circular path without change its speed. So the parallel component remains unaffected by the magnetic field. So the charge particle continues move along the field with a speed of v cos theta. That means the particle will move in an upward direction with a v cos theta, and because of the perpendicular component, it will also move in a circular path. So it will move upward as well as it will move in a circular path. Upward, then the circular path. So you see that the diagram is the path of the charge particle like this way. It will move in a upward direction but in a circular. Then again it will move in a perpendicular direction due to upward direction due to v cos theta, and because v sin theta, that is perpendicular component of the velocity vector, it will be unaffected. Due to that velocity vector, it will move in a circular path. So this is called helical path. This structure of the path, it is called helical path. With this helical path, it will move in a upward direction. So both forces are acting like this way, that it will move in a forward direction because of the v parallel, that is v cos theta. It will move along the field with a speed of v cos theta, and v sin theta remains unaffected because it is perpendicular. And in second case, we see that if the field and the velocity is perpendicular to each other, then the charge particle will, without deflect from its path or without changing its speed, it will move in a circular path or circular orbit. So like this way, it will move in a towards the magnetic field. So here the magnetic so the expressions are there, the value of r of that circular orbit due to that perpendicular component, here the time period, and you also get the pitch. Pitch is, what is the pitch? You see that pitch is the linear distance traveled by a charged particle in the direction of the magnetic field during its period of revolution is called pitch of the helical path. So from one to next, that is the linear distance, how much it will move in upward direction as per this diagram. So this will call, this is the pitch. So this pitch is nothing but the v parallel into the time period t. So that means one circular path to another circular path, distance, that is called pitch. V parallel means v cos theta, into t value you get 2 pi m by qb. So you get 2 pi m v cos theta by qb. This is called pitch. I hope it is clear to everyone. Once again I will tell this one. When a charged particle enters in a magnetic field and make an arbitrary angle, then we resolve that velocity vector into components. One is a parallel to the magnetic field, v cos theta, and the other one is a perpendicular, that is v sin theta. V sin theta is unaffected due to that, because it is perpendicular to the magnetic field, and due to that the particle will move in a circular path. But due to the v cos theta, this is not unaffected. The charge will continues in a move along the field with the speed of v cos theta. So as the velocity move in a upward direction, it also move in a circular path also. So upward direction and the circular path, upward direction, circular path. That structure is called helical motion. This motion is called helical motion. Okay. Now the next one point, that is the force on a current carrying conductor in a magnetic field. This is also you studied in a class 10. If we placed any conductor inside the magnetic field, the force acting on it, that will be F equals to BIL sin theta. We studied this one in class 10. So again we just recall this one. When a conductor carrying a current is placed in an external magnetic field, it will experience a mechanical force. And to demonstrate this force, take suppose we considered aluminium rod, and if we suspended that aluminium rod horizontally with the stand, and if we placed a strong magnet in very near to that conductor with the two poles, so and if the current is passes through the rod, then the rod will get deflects either in the right side or the left side. That there also be some rules with which we can find out. And if we reverse the direction of current, then the force acting on the rod will deflect in an opposite direction. By using the magnetic Fleming's left hand rule, we can find out the direction of force, in which direction it will be deflected. Okay, so this will be the expression how we can find out the expression, a mathematical expression. Here we placed you see that the force experienced by each electron inside the conductor, if we place a conductor inside the magnetic field, and inside the conductor lots of electrons are there. So each electron, when it will be placed in a magnetic field, each electron experience a force, that is F equals to minus E V D into B. So D means the drift velocity here, okay, because it will be the drifted from one place to another place. That's why we use the F equals to that expression, F equals to Q into V cross B, but here we use the small f, the magnetic Lorentz force, small f, that is equals to E. Magnitude is E is a negative sign, minus E VD cross B. And if we consider that the n, small n, is the number of density of electrons, that means number of free electrons per unit volume, number of free electrons per unit volume, that is called number density of electron. And then the total number of electron in the conductor, that is capital N, equals to, we can say that, small n into its volume, n into A into L. If we consider a very small cross sectional area, so we can use n into A into dl. So the force experienced by the electron in dl, that will be also small. So df equals to n into A into dl into that f, okay, that expression of f minus e into vt cross v. So from there we find out, we get in a small length, in small length dl, we get the small force df. So if we find out the total force, so we integrate this one, integrate df, so we get integration of I dl cross b. So we get f equals to I into L cross B, I into L cross B, or F equals to BIL sin theta. Cross product means sin theta. So the magnitude of the force F equals to BIL sin theta. I will not write here in details because you know how to find out the expression, and I hope you studied in a class 10. Still, if you have any problem, please mention in a comment box, so I will make another one video with the full expression, or with the full each and every step of with related to this topic. Okay. So here in this expression, related to this expression, some special cases also be there. If we consider theta equals to 0 degree or 180 degree, so we get F equals to 0. So thus the current carrying conductor placed parallel to the direction of the magnetic field does not experience any force. And if theta equals to 90 degrees, so we get the maximum force. That already we get the first one, the Lorentz magnetic force. In that expression also we get the same thing. So here also we get the same thing. So when the theta will be 90 degree, then only we get the maximum force. The current carrying conductor placed perpendicular to the direction of the magnetic field, then only we get the maximum force. And using the Fleming's right hand rule, we can determine the direction of force. And direction of force is also, from here vector expression, we can say that direction of force is depends upon the direction of L cross B. Yeah. Okay. Now its one application is there, the forces between parallel infinity long current carrying conductor. Parallel long current carrying conductor. So there is a two cases also be there. One is a parallel and the one is anti-parallel. So I hope it is too long video. So in next video I will start from here. Okay. So I will stop this video here. From next video I will discuss this one. Just short I will tell you the, if possible then I also write down the steps. Okay, and then I will explain this also. And another one topic is a torque. Okay, so have a nice day. If you have any problem, then please mention in a comment box. Thank you.